Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to my complete guide on the new endgame map system for Conquerors of the Atlas. From 3.9 onward we have a new Atlas and the mechanics for its progression are very different from before. So I've spent the last few days mapping as hard as I can and gathering information in order to pass it on to you. I'll be going over how to start the Atlas quest line, how to progress your Atlas, and then I'll be giving some tips on how to progress more easily and deterministically farm for specific watchstones and conquerors. Starting your Atlas progression begins after you defeat Kitava in Act 10. There's now an additional endgame quest that begins in the epilogue that requires you to follow Officer Kirak through a series of new endgame side areas in Oriath to discover the map device. The new fancier looking map device will appear in your hideout along with Kirak himself, and you can begin your journey. The first goal is to make your way towards one of the four corners of the Atlas. At some point after defeating a boss, usually in a tier 3 map from what I've seen, you'll run into Zana who will inform you of the conquerors of the Atlas and their backstory and show you to your first watchstone altar, which you'll be able to use later to progress your Atlas. From this point on, Zana will appear in your hideout and you'll be able to start progressing your Atlas through the endgame quests. Each region on the map, indicated by yellow border ropes, will have its own watchstone altar associated with it, and a portal will eventually reveal itself while doing one of the maps in that region. Which map it is seems to be somewhat random though, so pay careful attention for these portals and make sure that you get every altar as you progress. In order to continue on your story, you must go to one of the corner regions of the Atlas and start completing maps there. You'll run into one of the Conquerors and they'll give you a warning not to continue treading on their territory. You'll want to promptly ignore this warning and do a total of 3 different maps in that region. You can't run the same map twice to continue the chain of events, but you may do so in order to find more maps from that area if you need to do that. The Conqueror's influence will remain until you've done the requisite 3 separate maps. The Conqueror's influence will be indicated on your Atlas by a color associated with the Conqueror highlighting the region. After running your 3rd map and receiving a final warning from the associated Conqueror, you can return to your hideout and speak to both Officer Kirak and Zana. Once you've done so, Zana will have a quest marker above her head. Talk with her and select the glowing text option to open up a new map that will contain a portal to the Conqueror fight after you defeat the boss. Once you've defeated the boss, it'll drop a watchstone, which you can now use to socket into your Atlas to increase the map's levels in the region in which it's socketed, as well as reveal new maps in the area. I would recommend socketing your first one into one of the 4 zones in the central part of the Atlas, as you'll find it difficult to find higher tier maps if you put it into one of the corner areas due to the tier being higher. The maps you'll have completed will still stay completed even after upgrading in tier, and they'll drop in the higher tier once you're able to get those. You can now progress up to yellow maps. You can now continue completing maps until you found another Conqueror and continue this process. I would recommend putting your first 2 watchstones you get into one of the central areas each, into separate ones, and then putting one into the corner area to start giving you access to late yellow tier maps within your first 3 watchstones. One very important thing to note is the watchstone storage blocks on the left side of your Atlas. Hovering over these will reveal which watchstones you have and need to get in each area, as well as the region level required to trigger the Conqueror event for each stone in that area. Having no watchstones means the area is region level 0, and each stone will increase the region level by 1 to a maximum of 4. Conqueror events will not spawn in regions that are below the required region level to obtain the watchstone associated with the Conqueror, which becomes important while progressing and allows you to deterministically farm specific watchstones, which I'll explain later on. You'll continue to progress and unlock watchstones until you've reached 16 watchstones in total. This will unlock the new endgame boss Cirrus. This fight is extremely hard and I haven't yet been able to beat it, so good luck Exile. Afterwards, win or lose, you'll be able to continue to attempt to unlock the final 16 watchstones, all of which will require region level 4 to obtain. Another thing I'd like to note is that once you've gotten 4 watchstones socketed into a single zone, an awakening level will appear in the center of the Atlas. The more awakening levels you have, the more boss life there will be added to your maps, but you'll also get a bunch of powerful bonuses to drops. making it a perfect endgame chase for increasing your loot. You'll also see awakening objectives when you hover over the maps. By defeating tier 14 or higher maps with certain awakening levels, you'll be rewarded with an additional 0.5% chance that maps will drop a tier higher for each one's completed, and that does stack with the actual Atlas completion bonus. Now we'll get on to the tips. The first one I have is how to deterministically farm a specific zone. If you want to farm a red map in a zone or red maps in a zone but don't really have any maps from that area, you can actually just remove all the watchstones in other zones and then move 4 watchstones into the associated region and all the other watchstones into the boxes on the left side of the atlas. That'll ensure that only red maps that appear on the atlas are the ones in your targeted region. And now you can simply run any red map, and nearly every red map that'll drop will now be from the targeted region. This is great if you have Conquerors influence in an area, but you've run out of maps from that region. Simply set your atlas up in this way and run a red map or 2, and you should be able to get a couple of maps from that region. This tip works well for yellow maps as well, as all the maps are actually white to begin with. The second tip is to leapfrog your stones as you progress. This means alternating between adding stones to the central part first and then to the corner parts of the atlas. This will provide a much more smooth transition into endgame. You can ignore this and run straight up to red maps as soon as possible though by only leapfrogging with 2 zones. The way you would do that is you pick a central area and then a corner area. You simply alternate adding stones to them, and that will increase the speed at which you are able to get up to tier 16 maps. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you don't have a sufficient amount of watchstones or if you don't have all the watchstone altars unlocked, but otherwise it's a great way to rush to endgame if that's what you want to do. The downside is that you won't be able to get any watchstones aside from the ones that drop in that area, which will limit you to a total of 8 watchstones. My third tip is to, if you're strong enough, while chasing down the last 16 watchstones, move all of your watchstones to only 4 regions to get a level 4 awakening bonus to boost your rewards and complete awakening objectives as you pursue the Conquerors. I would recommend you put these in regions that you still have at least 1 or 2 watchstones remaining to get, so that you can naturally get watchstones while you get this progression. I hope you enjoyed this guide. This has been one of the most fun experiences I've had in Path of Exile for years, and I'm enjoying playing more than ever. Let me know if you have any tips that I left out in the comment section. If you want to help support the channel, consider becoming a channel member or joining my Patreon so that I can continue to produce content like this in the future. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye!